What a sad day for America. James Comey once again tweeting out, another good day. What a small, petty man. Working out his own vindictiveness on the nation, on our conscience, as we watch this spectacle unfold that's bad for the country. I think it's good for Trump politically. It's not good for Trump as a human. And it's certainly not good for America. James Comey, all about him to the end. What a sad, sad ending for that man. I used to respect him. He's not the story. 34 felony counts. That's what we've seen. A lot of prosecutors I respect recoiling with what Alvin Bragg, the New York DA, did there, which is called stacking. He doesn't really have 34 crimes. He has one alleged action that he's piecemealed out into 34 felony counts because on this date, an entry was made in the books, and on this date, an entry was made in the books. And he's trying to make Trump look like a multiple-time felon when really he's got one course of conduct that he claims is illegal. And we've got a great legal panel to get into that in 1 minute, but I'm going to set you up with the facts. I've listened to show after show, and I probably love the same ones you do, jumping right to what BS this whole thing is. Well, let's talk about what he actually revealed, okay? Because it's worthwhile to see what does Alvin Bragg say his case is about. It's, yes, the Stormy Daniels thing. There's more to it. But let's look at what he says so far his evidence is. And then we'll talk with the lawyers about whether the law makes anything out of those facts, whether the law has any problem with those facts. He's alleging, as we expected, the falsification of business records by Trump in the first degree. And he dates it back to 2017. Now, this is a DA, Alvin Bragg, who will barely prosecute violent crime in New York City. He has reduced 52% of felonies in a city that is crime-ridden to misdemeanors, failing to convict in half of those felonies he does choose to prosecute. So this guy is not too cognizant of the safety of New Yorkers. But this case, he cares deeply about. Not because of politics, no. But because while armed robberies may not really trouble him, proper document maintenance is integral to a safe metropolis.
That is why we have a history in the Manhattan DA's office of vigorously enforcing white-collar crime. We said it's the bread and butter of our white-collar work. We have a distinct and strong, I would say profound, independent interest in New York State. This is the business capital of the world.
Profound interest in going after those poor bookkeepers. God knows where things could go if you didn't stay on top of the crossed T's and dotted I's. Trust me, it has absolutely nothing to do with any of these boasts that Alvin Bragg offered to get elected DA in the first place.
When I was in the AG's office, I sued Trump over 100 times for his administration's misconduct and brought a case against the Trump Foundation and held him accountable.
I'm the candidate in the race who has the experience with Donald Trump. I was the chief deputy in the Attorney General's office. We sued the Trump administration over 100 times. I know how to litigate with him. I also led the team that did the Trump Foundation case. So I'm ready to go wherever the facts take me. I'd be hard to argue with the fact that that'd be the most important, most high profile case. And I've seen him up front and seen the lawlessness that he can do. So I do have a lot of experience with the former president. I think it's important to elect someone who is well prepared to pick up wherever the sitting district attorney leaves off. If brought, would be one of the most consequential cases in the history of local enforcement, and we need someone who's ready on day one.
Okay, so it's not political. Got it? Check. So exactly how did Donald Trump allegedly mischaracterize his business records, according to Alvin Bragg? Well, Bragg alleges Trump indirectly, through his then lawyer, paid off 3 people who were about to trash him publicly before the 2016 election. Then he listed those expenses as reimbursement for legal expenses. That's what he's alleging. Bragg says that Trump, his then attorney and fixer, now convicted liar and felon, Michael Cohen, and a third party, the CEO of AMI, that's the publisher of the National Enquirer, David Pecker, got together and struck a deal to catch negative stories about Trump in the lead up to the 2016 election and to kill them, to not run them, and to bury them. Bragg alleges this effort began in 2015 and included 3 payoffs to people with unflattering stories about Trump. Porn star Stormy Daniels, a woman named Karen McDougal as well, both of whom claimed to have had affairs with Trump. He denies it. And a former Trump Tower doorman who allegedly had a story about a so-called Trump love child, which turned out to be a lie. Michael Cohen, who's already pleaded guilty to other offenses, which landed him in jail, as well as this one, is cooperating with the feds, but has the credibility of a psychopath. He is not a reliable witness. We'll get to that. But Bragg says he has more than just Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen did testify before this grand jury. David Pecker, the National Enquirer guy, did too. Now, normally, falsification of business records in New York is a misdemeanor. That would have posed a problem for Alvin Bragg and his promises to get Trump because the statute of limitations on these misdemeanors, 2 years, had long since expired. Bragg gets around that problem by elevating these alleged petty crimes to felonies, which have a 5-year statute of limitations. How does he do that? He says the alleged record shenanigans were done with the intent to cover up an underlying crime. Remember that, with the intent to cover up an underlying crime. He says Michael Cohen used some shell companies to make the relevant payments and even recorded Donald Trump discussing these deals, urging Cohen, pay in cash, which Bragg suggests shows Trump knew he was doing something wrong. Here's the tape.
I need to open up a company for the transfer of all of that info regarding our friend David, so that I'm going to do that right away. I've actually come up and I've spoken to Alan Weisselberg about how to set the whole thing up with funding. Yes. And it's all the stuff, because, you never know where that company, you never know where he's going to be. Correct. So I'm all over that. And I spoke to Alan about it when it comes time for the financing, which will be...
Listen, what financing?
We'll have to pay you. So
I'll pay the cash.
No.
Okay. Bragg also alleges the meetings around these payments and the timing of those payments themselves make clear that this was all about helping Trump's electoral chances and had nothing to do with sparing Trump any embarrassment with Melania or his family, etc. Now, Bragg claims that after the election, Trump actually invited David Pecker to the White House to, quote, thank him for his help during the campaign. Maggie Haberman at the New York Times in a jaw-dropping moment today. I didn't know that. I didn't know David Pecker went to the White House and Trump thanked him. Did you watch the National Enquirer during 2016? Trust me, I was on it regularly because Trump was not too happy with me during that time. And they just excoriated me week after week. I'm not surprised at all Trump thanked David Pecker, and it may have had absolutely zero to do with his whole catch and kill scheme. I have no idea why he was thanking him, but I could show you several covers that I was on that Trump probably was happy about, and may have had absolutely nothing to do with Stormy Daniels or Michael Cohen or any of this. The Inquirer was very much behind Trump throughout this election. So thanking him, Pecker, for his help, your humble correspondent would submit, is perhaps not the nail in the coffin Alvin Bragg thinks it is. All right, so that's the alleged scheme as portrayed by Alvin Bragg. That's it. That they got together, they caught and killed, they got rid of these stories, and ultimately it was paid off by Michael Cohen. They claim he was reimbursed by Trump. They seem to admit it was Trump's personal funds. Wasn't from campaign finance funds. It was from campaign funds. Trump's personal funds. And then Trump, when he listed it on his business records, did not say payoffs to Stormy Daniels. He said payoff to my lawyer. He said legal reimbursements. That's the scheme, as alleged by Alvin Bragg. But was it actually illegal? As alleged, do we see an actual felony here? The intent to cover up an underlying crime. What was the specific crime that Trump committed here and was trying to cover up? Listen to Bragg on that.
The indictment doesn't specify that because the law does not so require. In my remarks, I mentioned a couple of laws, which I will highlight again now. The first is New York State election law, which makes it a crime to conspire to promote a candidacy by unlawful means. I further indicated a number of unlawful means, including more additional false statements, including statements that were planned to be made to tax authorities. I also noted the federal election law cap on contribution limits.
Okay. It's so cute. I don't have to tell you. I know, but you don't. Seriously, that's the level we're at on a presidential indictment. First time in U.S. history, we have a former U.S. president sitting now, arrested, indicted, being arraigned, and Alvin Bragg is too cute by half. He won't tell us? Oh, sure, that's fun. Oh, we'll just figure it out as the case goes on. Thanks so much. I have never been able to compost before. Have you? It always seemed too complicated and like too much work. Not anymore, thanks to Lomi. Lomi allows me to turn my food scraps into dirt with a push of a button. Lomi is a fun countertop electric composter that turns scraps into dirt in under 4 hours. There's no smell when it runs, and it's super quiet. Thanks to Lomi, we have way less garbage in our house each week. Instead, we are turning our waste into nutrient-rich dirt that I can then feed to my plants. Now I am composting with the best of them, creating soil instead of waste. I have a basically limitless supply of dirt for my garden, which is fun because now that I live in the burbs, I have one. And if you want to start making a positive environmental impact or just make cleanup after dinner that much easier, Lomi is perfect for you. Head to lomi.com/MK and use the promo code MK to get $50 off your Lomi. That's $50 off when you head to lomi.com/MK and use that promo code MK at checkout. Food waste is gross. Lomi is your solution. Lomi.com/MK. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.